Well, hi, today we're looking at the Tetra internal power filter, whisper filtration, for 5 to 10 gallons. So that is 20 to 40 litres or thereabouts. This one has a medium cartridge, an 80 gallon per hour motor, and importantly, quiet operation. On the box we have a little bit of information how to keep your fish, how to feed your fish, and how the filter works itself. So you can obviously look at that if you are interested. But what's more important is what's inside. So let's open her up and have a look. So here we go. This is an internal power filter. Immediate impressions is it's reasonably large for the size of tank that it is designed for. However, if it's going to give good filtration, that's not important really, is it? Let's have a look. We've got our bag here with our Stay Clean technology. We'll have a look at that in a sec. We have got a holder with some very coarse foam there. I guess that's just for catching large debris. And then inside we also have, glad I looked, a suction pad. In terms of material, it's basically car bumper plastic by the feel of it. And on the back we have got a mounting bracket which is, as far as I can tell, fixed in place. I'm not going to try and remove it. However, there are some clips here which I guess you could mangle with a pair of pliers if you wanted to get rid of it, but I wouldn't actually do that because you'd never be able to mount it again. We also have our mounting bar. So to attach the mounting bracket here, it's quite interesting. It works a little bit like a zip tie actually. So you can adjust the height of it by simply pushing it through. You can hear, it's a little bit stiff, but it works. You can hear it. And that's how you mount it. And it is pretty solid actually, it's quite impressive. You can just hold it in place like that, so nice. And I guess that clips over the top of the glass, so the size of the glass is kind of irrelevant because I think that would fit most tanks. If you've got a tank that is that thick, you're going to be in a bigger filter than this, to be honest, aren't you? So on the side we've got a little wire guide which is actually really cool because it keeps it all nice and tidy. We'll just have a look at the impeller. According to the instructions, we can access the impeller quite simply by pushing that in, and it is a click fit. Now that isn't easy. So I managed to get the impeller housing and the motor housing off the main bit of filter, and I've got to admit I struggled with that. That was pretty difficult. The plastic's actually quite hard, and this clicks into it. You can just see there's a little plastic clip, and really the way that you get it apart is you have to sort of squeeze it a little bit and then pull really hard, and I had to put a lot of effort to get that off, and that's a shame because the impeller should be really easily accessible. Here's the impeller, if I can get it out. Might need a pair of tweezers. It's a bit oily, which is fine. Oil is important for these things to work properly. So you can see it is slightly greased, but yeah, difficult to access, and especially when this gets a bit older, things tend to stiffen up. You'll get biofilm and dirt build up around these clips, and it'll make it even harder. So that's a real shame that was difficult, especially considering that I knew it was in there as well. It's a bit of a problem. We can see the grate as well here. That's quite big, isn't it, in terms of for the size of tank this is designed for. I can see small tetras, small shrimps and things, especially the sizes that some shops sell them. They can go into this quite easily. So what I'd be inclined to do is maybe put some mesh down here, because you can actually access it. If I can get this back together now. Ah! Oh look, just did my finger in as well. So I'm not having a good time with getting this impeller, just trapped it between there and there. User error. But look, the bottom here does come off quite easily, so I'd put some mesh in there or some foam in there, which then you can replace, because this bit comes off easily. And it's a shame the impeller actually isn't in there to access, because that's really simple and easy to do. In terms of the filter itself, it's really simple, isn't it? We've got a motor, we've got some plastic, we've got the water outlet at the bottom here, and all that happens is the water gets blown up the bottom and then sort of trickles through the filter media, which is in here essentially. So looking at the media, we've obviously already looked at the little sheet of foam in there. This is the replaceable media that Tetra want you to replace once a month. If we listen, you can hear that there's carbon on the inside. That's good for removing tannins from your water, medications from your water, impurities and so on. A lot of people only really use carbon when it's needed, not all the time. The filter pad is actually really fine. It's like a fine mesh to remove fine debris, obviously. You can actually open these, which I found out recently, and inside we can see the carbon in there, which means it's accessible, and that means we can take it out. We could replace it with something else, like a nitrate or phosphate remover, or just remove it entirely, replace it with more carbon, whatever you want to do. And we can then wash this pad out and clean it. So it does mean that this pad is reusable if you want to. We don't necessarily have to buy one every month, although I'm sure Tetra would prefer it if you did. But with all the plastics in here, it's probably better just to try and reuse this as many times as possible. You can see here how the media is presented. We've got our foam there, that's where it fits, and we've got our pad at the bottom. They are quite loose fitting, to be fair. I can't really see any runners in there other than just the body design. And that's how it goes. As with these kinds of filters, with these pads, I would just remove the whole thing, probably just fill it with like a biomedia and then some sponges as well, and then it'd be actually quite good. You'd have quite a lot of room in here for some decent material to go in here to give you that better filtration. As it comes, I think the filtration in here is actually probably inadequate for the size of tank that it's designed for. Here it is plugged in. It's on my 30-litre nano tank. So this is actually somewhere between that 5 and 10 gallon capacity. It's pretty much perfect in terms of the volume it's advertised for. It just worked straight away, which is really nice. The overflow, I really actually like this. It's pretty smart, pretty quiet. Obviously, the noise output of that is dependent on the height, but we can see here this bracket is working very well. We're not getting any vibration against the glass. It's all working as expected, so that's great. One thing I would say though is it's pretty ugly, okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. For a 5 gallon tank, this thing's huge, isn't it? Let's be honest. But in a 10 gallon, we could probably hide it. I'm not hating on this though. I'm reasonably impressed with it. Obviously we need to modify this. People suggested in my last video on Tetra products that they buy them to then modify them. So let's assume as it is, it's not very good. It's big and ugly. The filter media is terrible. But in terms of volume, it's quiet. If we modified it, put some foams or something in there as a pre-filter to stop small fish and shrimps going in, and then we took this media out and put some good media in there. You probably need to put a little tray at the bottom there to stop the media going into the pump. But if we did that, this filter is actually really nice. I quite like it, especially for the sort of price point that this is sitting at. This is decent, isn't it? I think this is actually quite a good winner from Tetra. It's simple, but it is effective with the modifications that we would do to it. I mean, to be fair, out of the box, this would work. But the problem is, what's going to happen with the water is it's just going to go to the top there where you can see, where's my finger? So it'll just go to the top, it will flow through, and it's missing 90% of the media that is in the filter itself. So what we actually want it to do is stage the filter in levels so that the media is completely used rather than just bypassing it all. Especially that little black foam. Look, it's only the top part of that foam that's actually getting the water going through it. So it's pretty rubbish. But there's no water noise, and to be fair, this would be very appropriate in your bedroom or something like that. So this particular one, where it says it's a whisper filter, I completely agree. Yeah, absolute winner from Tetra.